today is day 2, the December the 1st, 2025, first of the month. And yeah, as I've made a pact to myself, I'm gonna record a video every day documenting my journey into building a multi-million pound or dollar or whatever currency, obviously dollar and pound business. And while I do this with the assistance of the Imperium acquisition course provided by Charlie Morgan. So yeah, today is day 2, and the lesson today was called the Six-Figure Fusion, and this lesson was basically coming off the back of the other lesson yesterday, which is actually pronounced elucidatory axioms. And I believe elucidatory axiom means explaining something that can be quite complex. So yeah, that was the lesson yesterday and the previous video that I recorded. But today's lesson was got my book again. Today's lesson was the Six-Figure Fusion, and it basically consisted of consulting foundations, consulting hypothesis, knowledge, memory and time, exponential distribution, feedback loops, second order consequences, and then feeder actions. Again, yeah, it was a very interesting lesson. These are concepts that I'm like kind of familiar with already, just from some like personal development I've been doing over the past years, and things that I like reading. I like reading a lot about the mind, and understanding how it works, and just understanding human nature. And I'm quite reflective in my own nature, in terms of like reflecting on my life, decisions I've made, what the effects of those decisions are now, like what I'm living now is because of the decisions that I made in the past. So I'm very, very conscious of this stuff, and I love like looking into it. So this lesson again was very interesting. The first key takeaway from the lesson was consulting foundations. So the 5 key foundations of consulting were discussed, and my book is just like falling apart. It's just red stuff going everywhere. But yeah, consulting foundations were basically the five foundations that are involved in consulting, and these are: foundation 1, a niche. So a niche is basically a group of people, or people that are grouped together by a statement or a feeling of identity. So this could be anything. Simple example is like a football team. Football fans, supporters of a team, that's considered a niche. Like you have a group of like Barcelona fans, or a group of Real Madrid fans, that's considered a niche, and they're all grouped together because they support this one team basically. So that's the first foundation. And these niches basically exist in industries, and an industry is a segment of an entire economy, obviously. And the niches themselves contain micro niches. So you could have Real Madrid fans, but then you could have Real Madrid fans that are also bakers or whatever, or Real Madrid fans that are tapas chefs or whatever. So the second foundation was problem. So you have your niche, then you have your problem. So this is the problem that particular niche is facing, and then money's made when you create value, or money is made when value is created for that niche's problem. When that problem, or when the problem is causing them pain, and when you alleviate that pain with the solution, then that's when value is created. And then pain is elevated when the problem's solved with critical information, as we were speaking about in the other video. The third foundation was solution. So a solution is a manifestation of the application of accurate and appropriate critical information. So applying that critical information, like we spoke about recently in the previous video, and using that critical information to smash through the bricks between the current state and the desired state to end up with the solution, which is the desired state. And then the niches obviously pay for these solutions. The fourth foundation was results. So this is where solutions create results, or synthesis from combining thesis and antithesis, as we were speaking about. So the solution is the result, or the result is the solution. results are not binary. My key takeaway from this is that results are not binary. They can be weak or strong depending on the strength of the solution, when applying that solution to the problem. And then strong results are what differentiates consultants or anyone in this business from being the worst, mediocre, or being the best, basically. And then the fifth foundation was the offer, and this is how solutions are actually packaged and given to the clients. You basically need to, the key takeaway was people don't buy what you do, they buy the outcome. And then secondly, you have to give people what they want in order to give them what they need. So you need to basically sugarcoat it for them to think they're getting what they want. They are getting what they want, but then they're also getting what they need inside of it. Sort of like a Trojan horse in a way. Well, not really a Trojan horse, but you get the concept. And the offer is made up of 4 stages. So you have the identity call out, the outcome, the time frame, and then the price. And then all of these come together as a statement that you make to the niche, which is then packaged as this offer. And then you have the consulting hypothesis, which is just combining the niche, problem, solution, result, and offer all together, and you basically get the success, which is the outcome. So yeah, this was it was very interesting to see the different foundations. So I've mentioned the consulting foundations, consulting hypothesis. The next key point in the lesson was about knowledge, memory, and time. And this again was like bouncing off of the concept of compounding, and the effects of causal law, or cause and effect. How anything, it focused on the effects of time and doing something over amount of time, which is compounding, through the causal law of cause and effect. And in this is interesting because, like, I know about compounding through interest, and obviously Warren Buffett swears by it to say, like, this is how he became a billionaire, just through simply compounding and investing consistently and regularly into an investment vehicle that he thought was stable, like Coca-Cola stocks, for instance. And then over the time, his money just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, like with this compound effect. And it hits home because, like, I know this rule, but I don't apply it in certain things in my life. And I've only just started to recently apply it. Like, I'm learning a language now, through comprehensible input. And with this, I have to do it. It's only going to work through compounding effect, the compound effect. I have to make sure that I'm showing up every single day and doing this comprehensible input, or working inside of this comprehensible input system, so that I can learn this language and be proficient. But I understand it's going to take months, but through the effect of compounding and doing this every day, I'm just going to be like this, and then boom, I'm going to be speaking this language fluently. Hopefully that's the plan. And then also I've seen, like, in my life where I've made the wrong decision and pulled out of a compounding effect too early. Like, for instance, I was invested in Bitcoin. I'll put up here or wherever, I'll put up a screenshot of one of my investment accounts. And I remember I put money into Bitcoin, and then a couple weeks later, I can't remember why, I took the money out. And then you'll see the chart. I took the money out, and then you see the chart shoot up, and that was like 15 months ago. So if I had just kept consistently putting that money in and not touching it, I would have ridden that exponential growth in Bitcoin and then made some money. We're not talking like a crazy amount of money here, but the principle is the compounding effect, and the fact that I pulled out of it, and so many of us do. And then we wonder why we don't see results in things, because a lot of us have been trained to just want that instant result, that instant gratification, as Charlie was mentioning in the lesson. This thing is ruining anyway. So yeah, memory delays over time, so it's important to keep refreshing that memory so it stays in your mind. And information can only change your life for as long as you remember it. So this is why you need to keep feeding it back. The next key point in the lesson was exponential distribution. So this is the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto rule, where 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. So like I've heard the saying, the 80% of the results have come from 20% of the work that was done, or like the iceberg effect. You only see 20%. Is that right? The iceberg effect. The iceberg has like more underneath. Yeah, it's basically like that. You only see 20% of the top, but 80% of it's underwater. I guess, yeah, that makes sense. More on this was yeah, this is a natural law that needs to be understood. Obviously, it's a natural law. Like, we're living in a world that was made by a creator, and this creator's created these laws inside of this world that he's made. And it's for us to understand these laws and then apply action to these laws and work within or move within these laws. Like, we have the law of gravity, right? That was created by the creator. We know how gravity, we have a kind of simple understanding of how gravity works. We then move within those laws. Like, we're not trying to build houses in the sky because we know things gravitate towards the ground. The heavier something is, the more inclined it is to gravitate towards the ground. So for that reason, we build houses on the ground. So it's all about operating within these laws, and causal law, compound and effect. These are all laws created by the creator for us to basically use and benefit from in this world. The next key point was feedback loops. So this is about doing more or less of something depending on what you want to do. This was cool because I've read a book, and I keep reading this book called Psycho-Cybernetics. I'll put it here. And this book is about just how the brain works and how to use it and how to train your mind or reprogram your mind to achieve certain things. And one of the key takeaways in this book is something called a automatic success mechanism. And this is the author basically explains how your brain is an automatic success mechanism. You tell your brain what you want, and then your subconscious mind is going to go and reach that goal for you using using auto-correction. So sort of like a auto-guided missile. You know, like a missile, you set the target when they're in the battle, in the wars. They set the target, or they shoot the missile at a target, and then the missile will go left and right, up and down, and throughout this whole time it's constantly correcting itself until it hits the target. And it's correcting itself with feedback loops. So it's gone left too much, it's going to feed back into itself saying, you've gone left too much, come back into the middle. You've gone down a bit too much, come back up. You've gone up too much, come back up. And it's going to keep doing these feedback loops until it just goes boom and hits the target, basically. So it's the same thing with us. But our feedback loops, from what I'm understanding, they compound into negative or positive outcomes depending on what we're doing. Like going to the gym, keep going to the gym, you're going to keep feeding your mind and you're going to feel good, you want to eat good, like Charlie was saying. Or you could have negative stuff. So yes, doing more or less or something. The next takeaway was second order consequences. So this is basically the consequences of your consequences. So again, this is very interesting. It's basically the whole theme of this lesson just seems to be about the compounding effect and time. Because your consequences of consequences, that's the compounding of your consequences. Like you do something bad, then something bad's going to come from that bad thing, and then something bad's going to come from that bad thing, and it's going to keep on going and keep on going until you break that feedback loop. And then that leads on to the next point in the lesson, which is feeder actions. So feeder action is an action manifested as a routine behavior. Our actions echo into eternity. Like that's a crazy or profound like saying, because it's true. Our actions right now determine who we're going to be in the future. So me doing this right now is determining who I'm going to be in a few months or a few years or a few decades from now. So by using feeder actions, we basically can control our second order consequences, and we can control or use these feeder actions for our feedback loops, because the feeder action is what we're feeding back in. Back to the missile analogy, the feeder action of the missile is the position of the missile and how correct it is in terms of reaching the final target. So yeah, man, that was the takeaway from the lesson. And then I forgot to mention about stickability and consistency. So you need to isolate this feeder action and then constantly repeat it to get a positive trajectory to where you want to go. So that's, yeah, focusing on that feeder action and just keep feeding it back consistently. So yeah, that was the lesson for the 6-figure fusion. It was a good lesson. There's a lot to take in, a lot to digest. I'm going to come back to this. So yeah, this is day 2 of the journey in building Leader. Speaking about niches, I thought I know what niche I want to work on, but at the moment I'm not really sure. I said I want to help people generate more leads, but that's a niche. The niche is people that need to generate leads for their business, but under that there's another niche. Like, what business are they? Like, what industry is it? Is it real estate? Is it coaching? Is it yeah, you get what I'm saying. So I need to, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and just go through the course and take my time until I'm able to think of the actual niche that I want to serve. And yeah, in the other video I mentioned I'm sitting in a Honda City on November the 30th, 2025. The reason I said that is because I want to challenge myself. I'm going to make every single video inside of a car, and the car that I'm sitting in is going to be the car that I'm owning at that time. So right now I'm sitting in a Honda City. I don't own this car, I'm renting it. I'm living in Southeast Asia at the moment, and I'm renting a car because I don't want to finance a car, and the next best thing after buying a car is actually renting it, and I can change it whenever I like. But my goal is to keep making these videos in the cars I'm sitting in, and then hopefully I'll be sitting in my dream car, an Audi A5 e-tron Bradford Green, whatever the model is at the time that I'm able to buy it in cash. Yeah, and then hopefully I'm going to end up sitting in that car making these videos. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.